Our next speaker is Sandra Miller. She's a veteran justice outreach social worker for the Department of Veterans Affairs. She has worked with veterans experiencing homelessness, substance abuse program, and legal problems since 2012. She's a licensed clinical social worker and has worked in child welfare, addictions, and mental health care across her career. So welcome, Sandra.
So it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much. You'll see when I kind of go through the presentation, I'm a little bit of a, we're going to take a quick little, we're going down a road. We saw the corn path, right? We're going to take a little bit of a right turn, okay? I'm still on the farm, okay? But I'm a slightly different path on the farm. But I want you to know about what it is I do, and to kind of, we'll try to connect some of the dots to understand what it is I do with the VA. First of all, just a couple things, just housekeeping things. Punctuation. I tend to see that as an artistic choice rather than an actual grammar, copy editor thing. So, think of them as Easter eggs. When you're going and you see the PowerPoint, you say, there's one of her artistic choices. That's just how my brain works. And I didn't get to my right people to proof at the time. They happened to be out of the office. So my reliable proofers were not there. The other thing too is I'm a very opinionated person. I mean, they flow out of me like whoosh, like air, boom, opinions. My mother, who's about in her 80s, she tells me that I have probably about 5 to 7 more years of liberally giving my opinions, and she says that at that point she said you need to stop. And she kind of connects it. My mother's very aware at her age. She's very aware. She says, you need to stop giving your opinions about 7 to 8 years because they will start thinking, the bias and stigma of dementia and cognitive problems. She said, as an older woman, you need to be careful about that because people will start looking at you a little bit differently. You become more unfiltered with your opinions. And so this is my mother. And so she's very resolute in not giving opinions. My sister and I bait her all the time, and she holds steady and fast. She doesn't give them. She's not going to make sure that neither one of us are in a position to seize her assets. So that's her opinion. So I have 7 to 8 more years of giving opinions. But I just want to make sure you're aware. I work for the Department of Veterans Affairs. My opinions don't always exactly line up with the Department of Veterans Affairs, okay? I am using their PowerPoint slide phrase because I'm required to. I would have made some different artistic choices, okay? So some things, kind of keep in mind. That might be a Sandra Miller opinion. That might not be a VA opinion because they're somewhat conservative in their opinions. I am not conservative in my opinions, okay? Like our doctor said earlier, I will kind of talk about case examples that without violating HIPAA, and to kind of just to more illustrative that I sort of have fictionalized as well. And when he said that, I'm like, oh, that's exactly how I wanted to say it, to how I do it. So the Veterans Justice Outreach Program is with the Department of Veterans Affairs. I'm going to start there at the vision. Is that every justice-involved veteran will have access to care, services, and other benefits to help him or her or they maximize their potential for successes and stability in the community, including by avoiding homelessness and ending their involvement in the justice system. So the VA had years ago embarked on a larger initiative to end veteran homelessness. Even I live here in Lincoln, and I'm in Omaha, and I'm in different communities in Nebraska. I think we've all sort of experienced what seems to be a growing homeless population. And we're looking at these individuals, and I think we mentioned earlier, some of these folks don't have anybody. And we're noticing, and I don't think it takes much for folks to notice, some of these people are they're aging as well, right there along with us. Many of them have cognitive problems, have mental health problems, and are homeless on top of that. So the VAs one of their initiatives is to end veteran homelessness. And one of the key things with what was realized years ago that many of our veterans were showing up in the criminal justice system more than we would like them to be. Okay, the ones that were leaving the service, military service, were ending up in the correctional system a little bit faster. We see this goes back in history, even to World War II. Recognition that was happening. The Vietnam era veterans, we certainly know that was happening. Folks that have experienced some sort of trauma, abuse, or some military sexual trauma in the military, traumatic experience associated with their service, then coming out and maybe having some sort of legal involvement, and they end up in our criminal justice system. So the VA really is trying to facilitate access to VA services as soon as possible, and maintaining partnerships with elements in the VA and the criminal justice system. But I'm funded through homeless dollars, and I just kind of want to make that point a little bit. So what is a justice-related veteran? I think you've kind of picked up. I'm kind of a criminal sort of person. That's really where most of my people are that I'm working with. They've ones that have contact with law enforcement that can be diverted from arrest into a mental health or substance abuse treatment program. Or, as we've kind of been dealing with the silver tsunami, I'm going to say this, I've kind of been experimenting with moving from jail to a nursing home. Where we're having to look at where some of my folks that I'm working with that are ending up in jails, that maybe some of the things I used to do in the past, I need to rethink that. And that's some of why I wanted to be here, because I'm seeing this as something that I'm going to have to do more of that I haven't really quite gotten good at. I usually say, I'm not a medical social worker, but quickly learning I need to develop some of those medical social worker skills. So a justice-related veteran is also someone who is in a local jail, either pretrial, serving a sentence. A veteran may be involved in some sort of adjudication or monitoring by the court, probation, parole, pretrial, pre-release, diversion, any kind of range related to that. Reentry from veterans being discharged from federal and state prisons. So, for example, working right now with a veteran who's in a federal prison in Illinois, but at the end of November will be coming back to Nebraska. And so the VA being a whole, we're United States, that sort of cross case management is something that we do. Most of the justice-involved veterans that we work with are likely to be eligible for VA health care. I say likely because some of the win of the day for me is finding someone or working with someone who, for whatever reason, there are reasons, maybe never enrolled with the VA or didn't think that they were enrolled with the VA. For example, this is a real life example. I met with a veteran in the jail. He had popped up in one of the systems we use to identify veterans. He'd never enrolled with the VA. He had it in his mind, I think he sort of was leaving the service on maybe not so good terms with some people. He was convinced that he had a bad discharge, a dishonorable discharge. And so he'd never pursued VA healthcare, ever. Literally crying in a jail when I'm showing him, no, here's your DD-214, here's your military discharge paperwork. You are eligible for VA health care. You have spent maybe 20 years of your life not thinking that you're eligible for the health care since you've got out of the service, but you are, and let's what we can do to get you enrolled. That is an actual real life example. So, okay. So that if you have any of you that work with the criminal justice system, sort of the psychologists, the researchers, this is the model that they use. They call it the intercept systems for the criminal justice system. Basically, it means anytime, anywhere. So it might be, it's not uncommon for the VA to get a call, at a recent example, and you're working with her, I think. The police department to say, hey, homeless veteran living in her car, can you help? And so while she hasn't been found of any crime, she hasn't been arrested, She's living in her car. She's an older individual. She doesn't seem to have supports. She's not in housing. She's not in her apartment. That would be one of those early critical veteran intercept points where the police just randomly calls us. And that's what they're to say, hey, can you help a veteran? And we'll do that. And, you know, I handed this particular individual to the great Emily Zink here, and I believe that she is working with her to help this individual get housed. Did she get housed yet, or is she close?
Close.
Close, okay. Okay. It is also jails. I will go see people in jails. I will see people at the crisis center. I will see people at the Lincoln Regional Center. I will see people in prisons. I go to Nebraska prisons. I will work to, if you've heard of veterans courts, veterans diversion, work with them when they're in some sort of pre-trial program. Last year, the Nebraska State Legislature passed LB 253, kind of sort of suggests it's sponsored by, it was brought to Nebraska by former Secretary Hagel, Senator Hagel, and it modified a bit. It's kind of a question, will be an expansion of veteran courts in Nebraska, what that will exactly mean. I think Nebraska Probation is trying to figure that out. But then also working jail reentry, prison reentry, probation reentry, parole entry, all the levels and steps of the program. Okay. Now, some people like that and some people don't. So some people be like, ooh, that's too broad. Me, I love it. But it's anywhere from the cold call, hey, I got a DUI, I'm really scared, to I'm getting out of prison after being there for 30 years. Okay? So it's kind of the range. Now, we were talking about older individuals, and I kind of want to use an example. This is a good point to kind of talk about kind of how it relates when we talk about the older population, the older homeless population, and how it intersects with the justice system. I worked for, this is many, many years ago, a homeless man, very mentally ill, lots of visual auditory hallucinations, living on the street, legally blind, alcoholic. I forgot about that part. It was on the list. I think we got a list of things that we were dealing with, and that one seemed like, well, that's number 8. Okay. But at the same time, very adaptive. So he was used to living on the street, and he has people heard of the phrase "huska"? Have you ever heard that? It's an old term. That some people will call going to jail. It's another word for jail.
A huska.
A huska. Someone who did it for me? Yes, thank you. What does that mean? Where does it? Where I need to Google that. So he would tell me, he quite openly, he said, when it started getting cold, he goes, I just go out and do a minor offense or a mid-level offense. He was so skilled, he knew what would put him in jail for 9 months over the course of the winter in Nebraska. The case would get adjudicated, and then by the time spring came around, well, he'd served his time, released time served, he was done. And had done that multiple times. So, and that's how he, in many ways, had lived his life. So the Veteran Justice Outreach Program, it has been operational for prisons and for the VA. We've been doing this since 2007, 2009 for jails. Again, the big objective, and we have a second goal that is to help people, veteran, access to services, and pass them on. I always say to people, I'm sort of like crisis management triage. Boom, boom, boom. I'm not an expert diagnostician. I'm really not. But I'm kind of like, what are our major needs? And I pass them on. Pass them off to Emily whenever possible. That's really my main goal in life, is to pass them off to Emily over there. Feel sorry for her at the end of the day, okay? And to avoid unnecessary criminalization and incarceration of veterans, okay? Now, in some places, Omaha, Lincoln, we have VA presence in there. There's clinics. There's a hospital in Omaha. A lot of people know about that. Lincoln, we have a brand new clinic. But when we talk about all of Nebraska's 90 counties, it becomes a little bit harder. And some of what I'm doing as well is kind of the word of mouth. If Broken Bow, Red Cloud, Alliance, Really reaching out. My job and responsibility is to reach out to law enforcement, jails, and all those communities, and so that I can get the kind of the cold call. Hey, it's Webster County. We got a veteran here. Could you help him? And then kind of figure out what that help him looks like. Okay. So coordinate with law enforcement. And some of that's kind of why I called Anita. I said, hey, I know you're doing this justice thing. I know you do it every year. I'm a little bit off topic for you, but can we slip me in? And that's some of why I'm doing it, because you are my voice to say, I heard about a justice-related veteran. I hear that maybe he has some legal problems. Can you help? Okay. So in the United States, there's about 506 of us that are doing justice-related problems. I think the number of jails that we see or visit on a regular basis is about 2,000. In Lincoln, I go to the Lincoln Lancaster Jail every Friday. Omaha, I believe she goes Thursday mornings is when she goes. Grand Island, we do that kind of as needed kind of thing. Other jails, it's as we need it. Sarpy County, she does that as well every week. So we're regularly going to the jails. And 500 people that do this job, I mean, it's really great staff meetings. That's really all I can say. I enjoy the staff meetings we have with that many people. But the number of veterans receiving these services is about 41,000 last year. So we coordinate transition to services to the Veterans Administration. Most often, most common is, I think would be surprised, is I have a drug problem, I have an alcohol problem. Really easy for us to get people into substance abuse treatment at the VA. It is surprisingly one of those things that we do really well. So most people, sometimes in Nebraska there's this drug and alcohol assessment. You have to get done by certain providers in the justice system. It takes a while for that to get done. Then you have to sort of get Medicaid, and you have to get that approved and get that going. It can be ever cumbersome. If you're a veteran and you're enrolled at the VA, you say, hey, I think I need treatment. And I said, well, really, that sounds great. What kind of treatment do you need? I think I need to go someplace for 6 weeks. And our response is, hey, let's get that set up. You have an opioid problem or opioid addiction? And if they have an opioid addiction or opioid withdrawal at risk of an overdose, our policy says, yeah, like now. And we work with 5 our residential substance abuse treatment programs: Des Moines, Hot Springs, South Dakota, Des Moines, St. Cloud, Minnesota. One of the better ones. I don't tell Omaha. Omaha, and then the Grand Island program. So we have 5 different residential programs. We generally have a bed someplace. Because we're the United States, the Nebraska state lines isn't as big of an issue. We're like, yeah, we can get you on a bus, St. Cloud. We're going to do it. It's a long bus ride, but we're going to do it. And so we can access those type of treatment services rather quickly. But it isn't just that, it's also financial benefits, where if you go to jail or you go to prison, what happens to your Social Security? VA benefits that related to service connection, financial benefits, we don't cut that off completely after you've been convicted of felony. There's some little special rules. If folks know when I say service connection, there's, again, a lot of language to us. It drops down. I sometimes work with them to get it set back up to their full rate, coordinating with them while they're in custody, doing that all the time. Okay. It is also medical, helping people restart their medical benefits with the out of prison, referring people to housing, because I'm a homeless funded type of person, communicating with probation and parole, and liaison with the veterans courts and probation and parole. So veterans treatment courts. Have you guys heard of veterans treatment courts? I know I can't see everyone in virtual land. Has people heard about them? No? Okay, that helps. All right, no one has heard about them. Okay, great. Drug courts. How about drug courts? Have we heard of drug courts? Yes. Okay. So it's kind of like a drug court, but and mental health court combined. So if you've convicted a felony, we've had veterans who have maybe got caught with really high amounts of maybe a particular drug. They get in trouble, and it's a felony. You could go to prison. The judge, the county attorney, the prosecutor says, hey, we got this program where you can be in it for 18 months. You do well. We may dismiss your charges or drop them so you don't have to go to prison. You go talk to a judge, you stand in front of a judge every single week, you tell them how you're doing. In fact, over the lunch hour, I was on a staffing with a judge, doing that sort of thing. It's a great program. Now you're kind of want to make the connection though. You're thinking, well, okay, this is an older thing. Do we have older people in veterans courts? Yeah, most certainly we do. And in fact, that's probably, again, as I've been talking to our judge, we're used to kind of like an alcohol problem, send them to Grand Island, send them to Omaha, not a problem, right? Where I have had literally 75, 79-year-olds in the last year between our different veterans court programs that are coming to the courts. Some of the issues that maybe contributed to the legal problems are kind of like older people problems, right? Okay. For example, driving when maybe you shouldn't. Driving on a suspended license will get you a warrant, and you'll get arrested for that. You'll have to go talk to a judge about why you were driving on a suspended license. I had a veteran who kept doing that. I mean, not only in Lancaster County, he was doing it in Saunders County, he was doing it in Saline County. I mean, we had warrants in 3 different counties. And working, I think someone mentioned earlier about doing the Madonna driver evaluation to help him see, hey, can't be driving. And then really kind of going back to the judge, the legal system is somewhat reasonable, but to say, hey, look, he's not going to drive anymore. We did this. He knows that. We're going to work on that. But that's tough stuff to do. What are other charges that people can get maybe into a veterans court? When you think veterans, and it starts saying, many of our veterans own and possess weapons, right? Everyone nods on that. I think there's some understanding about that. Sometimes it gets a little tricky with those weapons when we talk about executive functioning skills and our choices that we make with those weapons starts becoming legal problems with those weapons. For example, a individual, well-respected, career, professional, doing great. His wife died. He had been in an assisted living program, but kind of driving back and forth because he had property in a different place in Nebraska. Well, some of his decision making, he got mad at the young punk in the big old truck that was following him too closely on the interstate. Okay? And so he decided, well, I'm not going to let anyone push me around. Which would be probably what I would think too. Let's go with poor decision making here. But he followed this person to a Walmart. He said, I'm going to follow him. I'm going to follow him, and pulls the gun out of his car and goes up to the man in a Walmart and says, hey, you were threatening me. Now, he didn't shoot him. He didn't threaten to shoot him, but he made sure that he brandished it. He made sure that the weapon was seen. It was saw. That's a felony. That's terroristic threats. Okay? So older individuals do end up in our criminal justice system, and so these are sometimes the issues that we're sorting out. And when, like, for example, if they're in a veterans court program, what I kind of told the judge, for example, we had one individual who was, saying, his A1C is like 12, okay? Judge, he shouldn't be driving, okay? A lot of our problems probably will be solved if we judge, if you can, and because you're in a court-mandated program, you do what the judge tells you to do. And the judge in this point is saying, yeah, you're going to go do the medical treatment for diabetes. I want that A1C down to 8. And that literally was the conversation. You need to be making it isn't sobriety for maybe from one veteran, we're getting that A1C down. That's your treatment goal, is attending and taking care of your medical care. So, okay. I want to go back to the veterans court programs. We don't fund them. They are run by Nebraska Probation under the direction of Nebraska Supreme Court. We're just like partners. So we have MOUs. So we go there, we share with effective release, operating release of information forms. We share information, but we don't run them. Now this is of course a great deal of frustration for me because remember back to I have lots of opinions. My opinions don't always get to win. The judge does, but we don't operate them, but we give a lot of opinions. Okay. Veterans population, we are concerned about veterans being in jails and prisons. It has gone down. It used to be disproportionately high. It has gone down. I saw during COVID, I think it just felt like they really weren't arresting anybody for a while. They didn't want anyone in jail. I mean, you know, it's my opinion, but it does feel like it's gone back up. That, you know, we're getting people, and I can tell just by looking at my own numbers. Okay. And the reason why I can look at my own numbers, there are various ways that Nebraska jails tell us what veterans are in jail, what age they are, who they are. So in Nebraska jails, do I know how many veterans are all in maybe in Nebraska's jail at any given time? No. I do know, like today, I can reasonably tell you there's probably about 60 that are currently sitting in the Douglas County Jail. They have a veterans unit at that jail. Lancaster County, I think I popped it open this morning and I think I saw 15. So it varies, but the other jails out in western Nebraska, there's not a system that captures that for me specifically, so I don't really know. I think with that new bill, I'll get a better idea of who, where, why, and what. Because I love a good trip to Broken Bow. Let's just put it that way. Prisons, I do know a little bit more succinctly. In Nebraska prisons, there's approximately 326 veterans. Not a whole lot kind of in the prison population. But Douglas County 93, Lancaster 58, Sarpy 30, Buffalo 15, Hall, those are just the biggest ones that I've kind of looked at to kind of see where they are. And I'm interested in this, why? Because I want to make sure, well, Buffalo County, man, they're doing bigger business than Hall County, right? So when I do my justice outreach, that means I need to be driving to Kearney, stopping there on my way to Broken Bow, right? Okay, so that just helps me kind of pay attention to where I'm going a little bit. Okay. Most of the people that are in our correctional system are in there for some type of drug or alcohol problem, but not all. I do want to point out as kind of a side thing, so the 500 VJOs, we clearly are not doing our job very well. I'm just going to say that. All 500 of us are not doing great. And we know this probably because veteran suicide is a really hot topic for the VA. We've all heard that. It's made the national press. But in 2003, a National Veteran Suicide Prevention Annual Report, Veterans in VA care, the suicide rates was 10% higher in 2021 than 2020. Now, gosh, now I could say COVID, didn't we say it's nice to be able to attribute a lot of those problems to COVID? But this is something that all 506 of VJOs have to look at. We don't really know exactly why that there is an increased rate of suicide. I do know, I had another older how mentally ill people are handled in jail. The jails are not mental health care centers. We talked about the availability of skilled nursing and assisted living, while mental health programs is just as bad. And so sometimes you can get stuck in a jail for a really long time. And if a judge, back to what our doctor was talking about, had a question about competency, not capacity, competency, whether they're legally competent to participate in their care. If attorney, and I know we probably have some attorneys on the call, in their criminal defense says to the judge, I don't think they're legally competent to participate in the engagement of my defense of this client. Well, they can ask for competency evaluation, but this is a very protracted period, and it may involve waiting in a jail cell to go to Lincoln Regional Center, and then to have competence through restoration, which oftentimes is medications. Now, it's not like the jail isn't offering medications. They're offering them. It's just many times individuals don't want to take them for various reasons. In jails, and someone said infirmary earlier. When someone said that, I got wrong. They knew about infirmaries. Was it you, wasn't it? Yeah. So they're called infirmaries. They sound medical-ish, but they're like they're like empty cell rooms. They're more like quiet seclusion rooms, if you've seen them, where they do like a cot on the ground, and it's very unpleasant. They may wait in those infirmary type rooms for a long time because they're not really safe. And in some respects, they're not safe from the other individuals that are in the correctional setting, or they're maybe presented as a danger to other individuals in that prison or jail. It's also a reason why when people are in jail, it's not like they don't have mental health professionals. They have great mental health professionals. They're very competent mental health professionals. But they may say, hey, are you feeling suicidal? Do you want to kill yourself? You know, individuals, there's a bias in that they will say most often, no, I'm great, everything's great. And the reason why I'm great, everything's great, they don't want to go to that infirmary. And so sometimes that's your choice. If you are at high risk for suicide, you're going to get stuck in that infirmary. Okay. So 1 in 5 are, we've clearly, VA has identified this is a 1 in 5 heavily impacted group. Okay. Before we kind of go a little bit, I think this is a real life example. When we talk about older individuals, we have a lot of older individuals in our prisons. And I think, you know, I need to probably break it down by age. So I go to all the Nebraska prisons, except for the kid one. There's the sentenced to prison as a youth. I don't go to that one. So all the other ones. I've been to McCook, I've been to Nebraska Women's Prison. I'm going to go to the Omaha Correctional Center prison next week. So all of them, and we have much older individuals in these prisons. And the prisons kind of are in a hard spot too because of statute and some of our confining laws about compassionate release and your eligibility to apply with that and get that approved by the parole board. They're tough, right? It's tough. So they have hospice units, and that's some of what happened with this particular individual. He was sentenced on a sex offense probably about 10 years ago. And it's not uncommon if someone's charged and found guilty of a sex offense, what does the family want to do? They're deeply embarrassed. They're appalled that they didn't maybe know that something was going on. They're horrified, particularly when that offense involves a child. All very common, normal responses. And many times they completely will cut this person out of their lives. Now, this is a bit of a problem when maybe they've been in prison for a type of sex offense because they're not going to get housing too particularly easy when they get out. The VA has some options for housing, Emily, you know. But many times it's very difficult. And so like I said, the older individual who's getting out of prison, it's tough. I have one veteran, and he's like, I don't know where my sister is. She's the only person I think that is alive. But I've been in prison for 10 years. I have no idea where she is. And I'd like to reconnect her. And so literally it is about me and the jail staff, like Googling, okay, what was her maiden name? You know, and literally there have been times where I'm like, I found an obituary. I remember the one time I found an obituary of an adult child that had passed that I had to relay to them. I said, your child died while you were in prison. So that's happened. So that's for people getting out. They lost their connections to some of those social supports about where they're going to go when they get out. But this was the positive story. At least it touched me. And I'm hardcore. It's really hard to make me cry. Let's just put that out there on the table. So I saw the veteran. His family cut him off, but he's now dying. And the family knows he's dying. And the prison medical system is he doesn't have capacity anymore. He's not competent anymore. And he does have a brother that is technically his power of attorney and decision maker. But his brother hasn't had any contact with him either. But the prison at this point, wanting to humanely get a DNR order put in place. And, you know, now suddenly thinking, all this lost time. It is my brother. This is my cousin. This is my family member. We've lost all this time. So connecting those two and putting them together, and he has some capacity. I hand delivered him. In the prison took me to the medical unit, hand delivered to him his military paperwork. Because, you know, his wife had divorced him and taken all the property when he was charged with the offense. He had lost even his military documents. So I hand delivered them. And what I learned in the prison told me this, that many times when you're in prison, you get jobs. You're a porter, a medical, that's like CNAs. Everyone, this crowd probably knows what a CNA is, right? Yeah, you're all nodding that. So they get jobs as CNAs, right? I met with the incarcerated person, not a veteran, that has really been caring for him off and on pretty consistently in the medical unit. It's his primary medical support is this individual, this stranger that he met in prison. But obviously cared very much for this individual, this veteran. And he explained to me that when he goes on to hospice and when we do recognize that his time is near and that he is close to death, all us CNA inmates, we get permission from the warden and we are allowed to sit with him in his cell 24/7 so he doesn't die alone. Strangers that he met in prison so he doesn't die alone. And that's a powerful thing. So even I think I kind of always want to admit, in really dire circumstances, really powerful things happen. And then that's the other thing too. And working with many of our older veterans, and when I work with them, what do we know sometimes, particularly with men? Let's face it, most of the people I work with are men, right? Okay. There's some women. I have some female veterans, Emily, okay? Emily's a veteran. Tell her thank you for her service. But most of them are men, and men usually avoid medical care, right? It's not uncommon. I've had many veterans who said, you know what? Getting arrested with that felony was the best thing that happened to me. And I'm like, really? Not many people say that. And the response is, I had cancer. I would be dead. I was ignoring my health symptoms. I was not getting medical care. I had VA health care. I wasn't going. When I entered a correctional setting, these medical symptoms were identified, diagnosed, and I'm getting treatment. Now, I may be here for a hot minute, but I am alive because I was arrested. So, I don't want to say all bad things about correctional systems because there are good things that happen. Okay. Now, PTSD in the older veteran, looking at the time, okay, quick. PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, we know that there's a whole range of mental health responses that are usually uncomfortable for people. And we a lot of times think about, well, they happened right away when we come back from service. And sometimes they do. I had a cousin, this is revealing a little bit more of my age, I guess, but he was in Vietnam and he came back and he really within 2 years had committed suicide. He was having a whole range of post-traumatic responses. It impacted him rather quickly, swiftly, and he committed suicide. Long time ago. Many veterans and some veterans are really, they're somehow copers in some respects, okay? So what are some of the coping skills we can handle adverse experiences? And maybe men in the room, what's our number one coping thing for most things? Women too, I love this one myself. Work. Work, work, work. 90 hours a week if you can make it, okay? Work. Work is a great way to put sometimes some of our problems at bay, okay? Even sometimes, let's say, exercise, working in the yard. My father used to say, hey, yard work, gardens, best way to get away from your family. He said, I don't need a bar. I got the backyard. And we had a great backyard. It was well landscaped. Marine veteran, and so, but when you get older, and for some people that are younger, and I'm going to tell you, when this flips on you, it's very uncomfortable, okay? This is a tip. It flips, because it's flipping on me. A lot of the coping things you do to manage different mental health, particularly if they're physical, even yard work, you can't do as well as you used to do. We saw our great doctor sit here on the table because of his knees. Well, you can't go out and pull weeds as easily as you did. And if pulling weeds in your garden was one of your coping skills, and albeit a very positive coping skills, things don't go well. Okay, so some of our veterans, when a lot of their PTSD, it's not uncommon for a certain subset of our population for their PTSD symptoms to really pop up later in life. And it many times can be attributable to this shift in different things. And those PTSD symptoms usually are kind of what starts getting us to run afoul with the criminal justice system, because police sometimes will notice when you're doing erratic things with weapons in a Walmart parking lot. They pick it up. The other thing the VA calls is late onset stress symptomology. This is like PTSD light, okay? And that's how the VA thinks about it. And anyone who's worked in a hospice where there are veterans, I'm gonna read this to you and you're like, oh yeah, I know what that is. I've seen that. That these are veterans, they've maybe functioned, but they get more emotional about their wartime or even military experience as they get older. And this can trigger a late onset stress symptomology. So it's similar, but they start reliving it. Probably some of it because that's the long range memory stuff that's buried in there pretty deep from their 20s. And so that's it. There are also, as we get to end of age, Erik Erikson. Do we still say Erik Erikson? We do that in the stages of life? They're thinking about identity. And military service and who I was in the service is a key part of who I was in the identity. And I had one veteran who was a mentor for the Veterans Court, and he volunteers at a hospice, and he says, that's what I do. I go, when I'm done here, I go to the hospice centers and I sit with veterans and we talk about their military experiences. And it can be cathartic. That can be a really great cathartic thing. It can also be kind of difficult for some people if they have maybe bad military experiences. So, but it's less severe. So other things that kind of causes this, before we get, I guess, PTSD triggers is also medical stuff. Older individuals, I talked about retirement, loss of a spouse, loss of your physical abilities. Nothing like a good major surgery to be scheduled to trigger all kinds of emotional stuff for some folks. Even the Veterans Court system, I explained to the judge, being in Veterans Court sometimes in itself can be a triggering type of thing for some of our veterans. For example, we have one Vietnam veteran who, had been really kind of coping rather well. You probably say, well, he's in Veterans Court, right? Something wasn't right. Well, kinda, wasn't that big a deal. But he was in Veterans. No one died. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just joking about that. It was a big deal. It's community safety. But it wasn't. I've dealt with much worse. So he's a Veterans Court program, but the whole title of it is Veterans Court. And he's an older individual with a lot of medical stuff, and the judge, part of the judge, and their bonding thing is like, well, tell us what you did in the military. Well, I remember one veteran court, the therapist and I were kind of sitting in the back in the courtroom. We're like, oh, please, no, don't do it. We're in the veterans like, well, I'm having these nightmares. And Pam and I are like, oh, please, because we know what his nightmares are. And they're very vivid. He was in theater. They're very violent. And he's at the table, and the judge just asked him, well, tell me about your military experiences, and tell me, and he said, I'm experiencing these nightmares, and he goes to start talking about it, and because it kind of, the vet court experience sometimes brings that up. So thankfully we were like, oh no, and we kind of redirected that, because that kind of disclosure, we want to do that in a therapy session with Pam, the therapist, right, or Emily, really, back to Emily. Okay. So when people are, and this is veterans, and I'm speaking of veterans, but this is really any older individual. If you are in jail or prison, what is it about, your smartphones? I mean, they're making new apps every week, I think, that I'm like, these are new and exciting. Explaining AI to people. I know sometimes with veterans, I'll talk about smartphones. If they've been in prison for a really long time, I'll say, you're going to love them. You're going to love them. But it's very daunting. So some of us have picked up kind of our computer, our communication skills slowly because we could be present for that evolution. Many times these folks, elderly person, no matter what, they don't have those skills. Now, the reason for you as an audience, if you work with someone who's been in prison or jail, it's okay to say, hey, how long were you in? And when did you get out? Because you're going to want to know, can they do these things? Okay? And we were talking about also earlier about the rural Nebraska and the coordination and the multi-systems that are involved with multiple medical problems. When I say the word portal, who knows what I'm talking about, right? Okay. Every doctor has a portal. And many times the most effective ways to communicate with your primary doctor, your physician, to get lab results, ask for a refill. The VA calls it My Healthy Vet. UNMC calls, Nebraska Medicine calls it, what is it? One chart. Yes, One Chart. So there's a portal for every type of system. And it's hard to explain to someone who's been in jail and prison what a portal is, because it sort of sounds Matrix movie-ish, a little bit. It kind of is. But if you're not well versed or not skilled in how to use portals, you're kind of stuck to sometimes the old-fashioned way of using, calling. And even then, that is harder because individuals have been incarcerated or really don't feel comfortable all the time talking to people that don't know, that they haven't been in jail or prison. They find it uncomfortable. They're terrified that they're going to say something offensive, say something wrong, that they'll be identified rather quickly. And so even just the social conversations is really, much easier. I have to say, even in my job, when I was able to speak prison language or jail language, and my comfortability with that, completely changed my ability to interact with people. You drop a couple of those, a celly every once in a while, and they're like, "Oh yeah, she gets it." But it can that's part of it. Okay, low employment ability. On the upside is sometimes when you're in jail and prison. Let's say you went into jail and prison when you were, let's say, 50. And maybe you are in there for 10 years and you're 60. Well, your brain kind of still thinks you're 50. Okay? And you sometimes will try to, I had one veteran, he's like in his 70s, and he's like, "I'm going to go get my CDL." I'm like, "Really? That's where we're going on this?" I go, I think we have some other options. I don't think you need to do that. I think it's very physical. You got a lot of medical, but really? CDL. But in his mind, he's very physically able to go get that CDL license. So that disconnect of who I was when I went in and who I was at, they see themselves in some sort of cryo chamber sometimes. And they come back and they want to start, and they want to start with where they let off. And not only do they want to pick up where they let off, and I tell people they want to make up time. So sometimes getting out of prison or jail, not only do they want to pick where they left off, they want to double time it, okay? And I don't know about you, but anytime I try to do things twice as fast, particularly at my advanced age, things go awry, okay? And that's just me, okay? I signed up for this. Things went awry. No, okay? Social Security, maybe you never applied for Social Security. The corrections, the prisons are very good at doing that. Jacob talked about changes in Medicaid. Oh my gosh. You probably didn't notice, but when he talked about Medicaid and enrollment for Medicaid while they're in jail and prison, I was just vibrating like crazy because I've been watching that. It's a very exciting thing. It makes a world of difference when you can come out of jail or prison with Medicaid right away. Now, when you get that CDL job, you may not need the Medicaid anymore, but at first you come out with that Medicaid, and that buys you a lot. It buys you the health insurance part. It doesn't buy you the advocate part. And that's kind of what I was saying. You need not just health insurance, but advocate. Medications are very complicated. I have a family member with a chronic health condition. He said 8 pills. I'm like, try 16. And try 16 on some days it's 4 of one pill, and other days it's 2 of another pill, and it's 3 times a day. And I love Nebraska Medicine, and I will give them any body part they want when I die because they've been so great to my family. But it's very complicated. It's very complicated. And in prison, you get in a line to get your meds. You get in a line. Some of the meds you're able to get bubble packs, but you're shifting rather radically to a medical department in the prison to, oh no, here they are for you. And you may decide to take some medications in prisons for very different reasons than when you come out. We'll leave it at that maybe because it's hard. Okay. Community, I talk about family ties, and homelessness, okay. Medical conditions, mobility. The VA is not too great on this one either because what do people need? Walkers. Oh, thank you. Walkers. They need wheelchairs. The VA doesn't always supply those right away. So that's going to be tricky. That's somewhat Medicaid, but that's part of my job is to do that. We do know that there are higher mortality rates, and this is not separate from the suicide thing, for elderly individuals when they are released from prison. Okay. The other thing too, and did anyone have fathers that went to the DAV, the VFW, you know, right? Those things are closing down. They're not there as like they were for our fathers. You don't see them as often. I have a veteran in one of my groups, and I tell you his big grief and loss issue right now is because his local DAV closed in Omaha. And that was a big part of his social supports. Okay. So, other things that I want you to do as advocates. Probation, that's prison. Probation's pretty tough too. If you have a DUI or DUI charges, you have to really make your way down to the DUI testing. If you have a DUI, if you're in like a DUI court, 2 times a day. Transportation and mobility issues. You're at a kind of a disadvantage because you don't have a car that you can jump into and speed down there at 7 a.m., do your testing, and then get back home. We just don't move as fast when we get older, right? Or we don't have access to transportation, or it costs extra money for gas. You are in a case manager as a position to kind of being cognizant. That's the real world things they may be dealing with if they just even simply have a 4th offense DUI. That type of drug trafficking. The electric, they call them bracelets, the scram monitors and stuff. You know, that's what probation will stick on people. Now, older people, what do we know about edema, our legs, right? Skin abrasions, the swelling, rashes. Their things also have an additional weight to them that will impact their walk. It's reasonable for you to ask and say, hey, and write a letter if you're particularly a medical provider. You got to come up with a different option. This medically isn't in their interests. Okay? They're also getting drug screening. I have older individuals, and I've sort of said to my veterans that are working with them, I'll say, if a doctor tells you to take a medication, take it, okay? You can ask if you don't want to take it, but don't take, many veterans will say, well, I need to get probation permission first. So if it's a Friday night and the probation officer isn't back till Monday, they may self-select to delay taking a medication because they're afraid it's going to show up on a drug screen. And I keep saying, well, the probation officers are not physicians. You take the medication, I will advocate for you at that point. So there's a lot of scrutiny on taking medications, they may choose to do that. There's a whole thing on urinating too. Pee test, drug test. I don't know about you, older I get, I pee when I don't want to, and I can't pee when I need to, you know, right? And that's whole separate from the whole UTI conversation we had earlier, right? Okay, but that's an element as well, okay? All right. I do want to also do a shout out. I'm hoping someone from Nebraska Legal Aid is here. The VA does have. We're looking. Do we have a? We do have
She's
a.
in the
Other room. Okay. We love Nebraska Legal Aid. Some of the issues related to homelessness that the VA has recognized that they have civil legal matters, bankruptcy, debt things. The Nebraska Legal Aid is a grantee in Nebraska. It's called the Veterans, let me see, homeless veterans and veterans at risk for homeless grants, LSVF, whatever. Yeah, so, but they're great. We just fill out a form, I send it over to Jane, she's fantastic, okay? So, kind of finishing up here. A lot of times people, when I do these training, like, what if I work with someone and I'm not sure they're a veteran? Yeah, veteran status is very complicated. I mean, IRS tax laws, I think, are getting simplified. Veteran, who's eligible for VA healthcare is getting tougher and tougher. I always tell people, you can apply for VA healthcare online, by phone, by mail. You just Google it, you'll get connected to something. If I'm out in the community sometimes and the veteran doesn't really know, I'll say, hey, let's just get on the phone. You know, or I'll boot up the laptop and we'll just type it in. It's a very simple online application form. And then the VA will work with them to sort that out. Your DD-214, your military discharge paperwork, particularly, this is a good thing for all of us. Sometimes we have a deceased parent that we know that was in the military and you'd like to see their military records. The holder of your military records is the National Archives in St. Louis. They actually have sites all over. They have caves in Kansas City. It's quite cool. They also have, for those of the Christmas shopping season, the very best gift shop, National Archives gift shop. some really cool stuff that make excellent Christmas gifts. I'm just going to say that. I do some shopping there myself. So would be a place. And there's also different resources. And then there's questions about who's eligible for a VA in the National Cemetery. That gets a little tricky. And but again, that is the resource on how to find out if you're eligible. You can do a pre-certification process. So there are really like 3 of us, really 2.5. Kim Kresge Clark. I list her first because if you have questions, I really want you to go into her first. No, I'm just kidding. She's like a full-time VJO. I'm second because I'm like a part-time VJO, and then the prison part is actually a different kind of job title. So I'm more of like a hybrid. And then Heidi, we make her do everything in Grand Island. So she has about 3 different hats, and so she's like a little part-time VGO. But there is a group email that the VA is very protective about who can communicate with us. And if you've ever tried to contact us on really anything, you recognize how virtually impossible it is to do. We don't want emails. If you call, well, it might get somewhere. But the Veteran Justice Outreach Social Work is one of those places that they allow us, hey, no, we want you to, you just cold email. People Google and they get to my Veteran Justice Outreach Social Workers, and they will list it out by state, all the different contacts. You send an email, we get it, we respond to it. Okay. All right. References, and that's just, I think, questions. I would have that available in case there's questions related to how many veterans in Nebraska. So that's my feeling. So, right, do I ask for questions now, right, Anita? Okay. Questions? Did I mess with the cameras? Probably because I moved around,
It's
right?
really simple.
Okay.
The National Archive would have discharge records?
Yes.
For next of kin?
Yes. Yeah, there's a form called the SF-180, see it's got a name. But if you go on National Archives, get my military records, you can submit a request online. And if it's for a deceased parent, then there are some extra steps that you go through, but there's a way that you can do that.
And can't you work with your county veteran service
You
officer?
can, if they have it. Now, some of the county veteran service officers, she has some skill, and I like that, I appreciate that, makes you a superstar. But some veteran service officers, old days, when you got out of the service, the military would do things. They'd give the veteran a copy and they gave the state a copy. And I don't feel that the system works as well in the new days. And many of the county veterans officers will sometimes say, well, they never registered it with us, so we don't have it. And I'm like, well, I think you do. But, but I bypass them and I go to the National Archives. I like those people. They're fast, for me, so. I have ways to tweak that request so they have to get on it. And if they don't, I say, look, you're outside your 48 hours. I'm a justice outreach social worker with homeless veterans. You have 48 hours. I want it in 48 hours. And I say it like that. I'm bossy. Any other questions?
Okay.
Yes.
From online.
Uh-huh.
So if we are working with someone who could benefit from the program, can we just email
Yeah.
you and then will you reach out to the client?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Even cold call. I mean, I pick up my phone and it will be just calls.
Perfect.
Just calls. Yeah. I love that. Because I'm kind of a crisis management person because I live for that. That's my jam. Okay. All right. Any other questions? Yeah. Ask Emily. She'll tell you that crisis is my jam. I create crisis for Emily.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sandra.